history and lore George R. R. Martin has created for his world is huge and detailed, but at the same time not endless. And while out of all the houses in Westeros, House Targaryen is by far the most well documented, thanks to works such as Fire and Blood. Even then, there are threads that get lost, and blanks still left to be filled in. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the history of House Targaryen since Aegon's conquest, and highlighting the many lost or missing members of House Targaryen, and talking about why this may be the case, and if George R. R. Martin will ever give us answers for any of them. There will not be any direct spoilers for House of the Dragon, but if I do bring up something that might be considered as such, I will mention it beforehand. For the most part, during the first century of Targaryen Westeros, given the small size in terms of members of House Targaryen, there isn't really any missing members. Each member is well documented from their birth to their death. Things only start to get complicated during the middle to late reign of King Jaehaerys I, whom with his wife, good Queen Alysanne, had 13 children. The ones who become missing or lost Targaryens are of the younger set, who proved more troublesome for the king during the latter half of his reign. The first missing Targaryen I want to highlight is Vaegon Targaryen, the 7th child and 4th son of King Jaehaerys and good Queen Alysanne. Vaegon was born in 63 AC. It was widely assumed during his youth he would marry his sister Daella, but as time passed it became very clear that the two disliked each other a great deal, with Vaegon barely tolerating his sister's presence, and Daella often frightened by her brother. Eventually, the king concluded the pair must find new matches. A bookish boy, it was also decided that Vaegon should spend far less time in libraries and taught martial pursuits by his elder brother, Baelon. Again, to no avail. Despite his combative nature, Vaegon, being the blood of the dragon, did receive much unwanted attention from the women at court, but no woman ever seemed to be able to pry him away from his books and learning. On his 15th birthday, Jaehaerys and Alysanne asked Grand Maester Elessar whether Vaegon might be a maester, to which he firmly replied, no. Though he did confess that Vaegon might have what it takes to become an archmaester. As such, 3 days later, Vaegon was summoned to the King's Solar, where he was told that he would be taking a ship for Oldtown within 2 weeks. Although Vaegon responded curtly to his father, King Jaehaerys would later tell Queen Alysanne that he thought Vaegon had almost smiled. At the Citadel in Oldtown, Vaegon would become an archmaester, holding the ring and rod and mask of yellow gold. Although he would write to his parents on occasion, his words were dutiful, with no warmth. During the succession crisis of 101 AC, it is said that Jaehaerys offered Vaegon the throne, with Vaegon refusing the offer. But he did offer his father a solution, the Great Council of 101. After this, history seems to lose track of Vaegon, which does strike many as odd given his position in the Citadel. Some have put forward that he might have died sometime between 101 AC and 129 AC, and the onset of the Targaryen Civil War, the Dance of the Dragons. Citing it seems odd there is no record or mention of him during this time, but counter to that, Vaegon would have been 66 years of age in 129 AC, with it well known that maesters tend to live long lives, thanks to the company they keep. It does seem very possible he would have been alive and well after the end of the Targaryen Civil War. It is possible that if George R. R. Martin ever does publish Fire and Blood Volume 2, there may be some answers to the fate of Vaegon. Princess Saera Targaryen was the 9th child and 5th daughter of King Jaehaerys and Queen Alysanne, born in the year 67 AC. In the year 84 AC, at the age of 17, she was the instigator of a scandal involving Jonah Mouton, the heir to Maidenpool, Roy Connington, the Lord of Griffin's Roost, and Sir Braxton Breezebury, the heir to Honeyholt. Meanwhile, 2 girls of her own age, Parianne Moore and Alice Turnberry, Sarah's closest friends, were also part of this scandal. The short version of events is this group grew close, with it eventually coming to light that the girls, led by Sarah, had been sleeping with Roy, Jonah, and Braxton, with it suggested that Sarah had slept with all 3, and certainly at least Braxton Breezebury. Later, Sir Braxton requested a trial by combat, in which he faced King Jaehaerys himself. Sarah was forced to watch from her windowsill while her father slew her lover. In the wake of the scandal, Sarah was sent to Oldtown, and the care of her sister set to Maegor. It is believed Jaehaerys only meant this sentence to be a lesson, that he felt a few years of silent prayer, harsh discipline, and contemplation would be good for her, and set her on the path to redemption, and that he did not intend for her to join the faith in the end. However, As willful as ever, Saera did not care for this plan. For a year and a half she endured, but in 84 AC, she fled from the mother house during the night, knocking down an older silent sister during her escape. Instead of hiding within the Seven Kingdoms, Saera managed to find passage on a ship at Old Town, which brought her to Lys. There she took service at a pleasure garden, still clad as a novice of the faith, pretending to be a godsworn maiden for the patrons to despoil. The news eventually reached Jaehaerys' court half a year after Saera's escape from Old Town. When Alicent learnt of her daughter, she wept, saying the Lyseni had turned her into a whore. Jaehaerys proclaimed that she had always been one. After Saera's betrayal and abandonment, it is said that King Jaehaerys was never again the same as he had been. Alicent did plead with Jaehaerys many times to forgive his daughter, but the king never could. When King Jaehaerys called the Great Council in 101 AC to settle the matter of his succession, 3 bastard sons of Saera, each fathered by a different man, one by the Triarch of Atlantis, came to press their claims to the throne. Saera herself, though only 34, decided not to press her own claim to the throne, boasting she had built her own kingdom in Volantis. One of her bastard sons was said to be the very image of Jaehaerys in his youth. On his deathbed in 103 AC, King Jaehaerys sometimes mistook Lady Alicent Hightower, his carer, for his daughters. Near the end, he grew convinced that Alicent was in fact Saera, returned from across the narrow sea. We never actually know the true fate of Saera Targaryen. She obviously became a wealthy and powerful woman in Volantis, but after 101, she and her sons are not talked about in any history that's been recorded. Like her brother Vaegon, there is every chance she lived to see the Dance of the Dragons, but we don't have any indication of her final fate. We then had to jump forward a fair bit till we get to Princess Daenora Targaryen, who was born between the years 195 and 211 AC. She was the younger daughter of Prince Rhaegal Targaryen and Lady Alyce Arryn. She had an older brother and sister, the twins Aelor and Aelora, who died in 217 and 221 AC. Her father, Prince Rhaegal, was heir to the Iron Throne between the years 209 and his death in 215 AC. As his elder brother, King Aerys I, had no children, Daenora married her cousin, Prince Aerion Targaryen, known as Aerion Brightflame, at an unknown point of time. Together, they had one son, a Prince Maegor, who was born in the year 232 AC, and whose claim to the throne was disputed by the Great Council of 233 AC. Daenora's husband and Maegor's father, Aerion Brightflame, had died in the year 232 AC, trying to drink wildfire, believing it would turn him into a dragon. After the death of King Maegor Targaryen and the Great Council of 233 AC, in which King Aegon V was chosen as king, history loses track of Daenora and her son Maegor, and we have no idea of their fate. The fact there is no mention of Maegor in any sources, or any suggestion he married, it is speculated that he did die during infancy, with his mother Daenora never remarrying. However, until this is confirmed in text, there is a slim possibility that if Maegor did live, there could be a male line of Targaryens we have no knowledge of, which given the state of play during the main book series, seems very unlikely. There are also parts during the Aerys II section of the World of Ice and Fire that suggest that at his ascension to the Iron Throne, King Aerys and his infant heir Prince Rhaegar were the only direct male Targaryen line, which supports the idea that something did indeed happen to Maegor before he could father children. From this same era, we also have Princess Vaella Targaryen, born in the year 222 AC, to Prince Daeron the Drunken and Kira of Tyrosh. We don't really know much about Vaella, apart from she was described as a simple-minded girl. Her father, Prince Daeron, was heir to King Maegor until his death sometime before 232 AC. It appears that Vaella was never considered a possibility as heir after her father's death, with her uncle, Prince Aerion Brightflame, being named heir. She was also passed over at the Great Council of 233 AC in favour of her cousin, King Aegon V. Again, like so many Targaryen women from this era, we have no idea what happened to Vaella after the Great Council of 233 and the rise of Aegon V. From what we can tell, she was never considered a true contender to the throne at the council. The fates of King Aegon V's sisters, Daella and Rhae, is also very vague. We have no record of their life after at least 220 AC, when Aegon married Betha Blackwood. We know that both did go on to marry and have children, via the words of their elder brother, Maester Aemond, in A Feast for Crows during the main book series. But who they married and what happened to their children is a mystery, as well as their ultimate fate. There is some speculation that Rhae or Daella may have married the Lord of Tarth, thanks to some comments made by George R. R. Martin that Brienne of Tarth may be a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall, as well as the implication that House Tarth can claim recent descent from House Targaryen in the world of Ice and Fire. We may have some indication of what happened to Daella or Rhae. Until we have more details about this, we can't really say if this theory is true. The last 3 lost and missing Targaryens I want to talk about are last in this video due to their connection to House of the Dragon, and wanting to avoid spoilers for some viewers. The fate of both Rhaena and Baela Targaryen and their later life is completely unknown when it comes to the finer details, which seems very odd for characters that play such a key role during the latter stages of the Dance of the Dragons and into the regency period of King Aegon III, who is their half-brother after all. Baela Targaryen would marry Alan Velaryon, with the pair having at least 2 children. The last mention we have of Baela comes in the year 136 AC, where she is said to be pregnant with Alan's second child. We don't actually know how many children Baela and Alan had, but he did end up falling in love with Princess Rhaena Targaryen and would have 2 bastards by her, the twins John and Jane Waters, who were born sometime between 171 and 176 AC. It is very much implied that he could have still been married to Baela at this time, despite Elena's wish to marry Alan. The very fact Elena wished to marry Alan in the first place thus suggests that this would have been possible, suggesting that Baela had died sometime prior to 171 AC. Alan goes missing at sea in 175 AC, and while we don't hear of Baela's death, there is a lot of unaccounted time between 136 and 175 AC, and given her age, being 59 in 175 AC, means she could very well be alive at this time. This is another case where I hope we get some answers in Fire and Blood Volume 2. We have a similar issue with Baela's twin sister, Rhaena, but in this case it's a bit more straightforward. Like Baela, the last time we hear of Rhaena in text is the year 136 AC, with her husband, Corwin Corbray, having died in 135 AC. We know at some point after 136 AC, she married Guardman Hightower, the brother of Lord Lionel Hightower, and that the pair would go on to have 6 daughters. We have no idea of Rhaena's fate, even how she came to marry into House Hightower, which does seem very odd to me given its significance. Again, another element I hope we get clarity on in Fire and Blood Volume 2. Now, the last missing or lost Targaryen I was reluctant to put onto this list. For the most part, I believe this person is very clearly dead. I'm of course talking about Daemon Targaryen, the rogue prince, who was most likely killed at the Battle above the God's Eye during the dragon battle with Aemond One-Eye. Daemon killed Aemon, also killing himself in the process. Now, while I don't consider Daemon to be a lost Targaryen, there are some fans who do, with the main evidence being that his body was never found. And while this is true, and I get the idea why some fans love this theory, that he ran off with nettles or ended up in Essos, for the most part, to me, it all seems very unlikely. I did want to mention it, as I know how popular this fan theory has become over the last few years. What do you think of these missing and lost Targaryens? Do you think we will ever get answers as to their fate? Or do you feel it doesn't even matter that much? Let me know in the comments.